All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, you guys. So this is our notes. This is on page 3 of the Unit 6 packet that some of you got that last day. I handed it out, so if you still have it, I think it's purple. It's a Unit 6 packet, page 3. If you don't have it, there was a PDF on Schoology, so you should have downloaded that and uploaded it into Notability, and then you can follow along with this video. If you have the ability to print, even better. Okay, so what we're going to do here is you're going to have what's called a system of equations. Anything that's a system of equations is just two equations. Sometimes it can even be more. Sometimes it could be like 3 equations or 4, but we're going to just see 2 equations. So you guys see right here, there's 2 equations together, one equation and the second equation. So we want to solve these equations at the same time, right? We want to find out what solution for them is going to solve both of them, right? So that's where we're solving both equations. So your answer is going to be both an x and a y. So your answer is going to have both an x answer and a y answer, and we're going to write it as an ordered pair. So as just like you would graph it, right? A point. X always goes first, y always goes second. So that's going to be our answer solution. You're going to find one answer for x and one answer for y. They might be the same numbers, they might be different numbers, they could be positive, they could be negative, they could be anything, okay? But they're going to be two different numbers, or two numbers, that solve both equations for x and for y. Okay, so let me walk you through the steps here. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do when you see 2 equations is you're going to draw this T, big T, like that. That's called our T-chart. Now we're going to first use a system here called substitution. Okay, that's the name of the method we're going to use first. We're going to practice substitution this whole week. Okay, so you're going to get really good at this thing called substitution this week. And what it just means is you're going to be substituting one equation into the other equation. So let's go ahead like this, and I'm going to highlight here. So this first equation is pink, all right? The second equation I will make green. So I'm going to start with the pink equation, and I'm going to write it here on the left of my T-chart. Okay, so I just took that equation and I rewrote it right here. Then I'm going to take the green equation and I'm going to write it over here. Now remember, with this video, you can always stop it and rewind it if I'm going too slow, or fast forward. Go if I'm going too fast, or fast forward if I'm going too slow. Okay, so take this at your own pace. Make sure you're copying down everything I'm writing. Okay, once you have both equations, now what you're going to do is you're going to take the right-hand side of one of these equations, and it really doesn't matter which one. I'm going to go over here to the right, and I'm going to take that part of it that was just on the right. See how it said y equals x minus 8? I'm just going to take this x minus 8 part, and I'm going to take it over here, and I'm going to substitute it or replace it for the y over here on the left. Okay, I'm going to substitute. That's why this is called substitution. So I'm going to substitute because that's equal to y. See how it's equal to y? It says y equals. So it's equal to y. So I can substitute it for the y over here. So now my pink equation, instead of this y right here, I'm subbing in the x minus 8. So this actually becomes x minus 8 on the left. Because instead of that y, I replaced it. I took out the y and I replaced it with this whole thing from over here, which was x minus 8. Now, the right-hand side is still the same, negative 4x plus 12. And now the cool thing about that is you just got an equation you guys know how to solve. So draw your line down the middle. Let's move our 4x to the other side by adding it. This is like 1x plus 4x. Bring everything else down. Move over the 8. We guys all know how to do this. 12 plus 8 is 20. Divide by 5. And x equals 4. Ta-da! But we're not done. Because remember I said our answer has to be x comma y. So just now you guys found that it was x was 4. So x is 4. But I still don't know what y is. So I got to keep going. Okay, so how do I keep going? Well, it's called substitution, right? So we're going to substitute again. We're going to take this x equals 4, and we're now going to substitute it back into the other equation for x because it's equal to x. So you always substitute it for the letter that it's equal to. So now this green equation becomes y equals, the y is still there, but instead of this x, I'm subbing in a 4. And then the minus 8, that all just comes down. Okay, well, what is 4 minus 8? You can use your calculators, do that in your head. You get -4. That's my answer for y. So I have to write it over here on the right as my answer, x comma y. This is my final answer. And that's substitution. That's all we're going to be doing. Okay, I'm going to walk you through one more example, and then we'll see if you guys can try some on your own. Okay, so the next example here on the bottom, we're going to start everything off the same. I'm going to draw my t-chart. I'm going to take the first equation and write it here on the left, y equals -5x plus 2. I'm going to take the second equation and I'm going to write it over here on the right. And now I'm going to set those two. I'm going to take this right-hand side and I'm going to bring it and substitute it in for y over here on the left, right? Because it's equal to y. And we always sub it for whatever it's equal to. So instead of the y here, I get 2x minus 12. The right-hand side all just comes down. Now this part you guys know how to do. Draw your line. This is a -5x, so I do the opposite, plus 5x on both sides. 2x plus 5x is 7x, minus 12, bring down your 2. Move that 12 over to the other side by adding it. Divide by 7, and x equals 2. So I got my x, but remember our answer, we talked about this, has to be x comma y. And I only have the x. So now I got to figure out what y is. So I'm going to take this 2 and substitute it over here for x because it's equal to x. So now this equation becomes y equals, the 2 is there, but instead of the x, I'm plugging in this new 2 minus 12. Okay, that's why we practiced in the last section all that evaluating, okay? That all was being substituting in and evaluating. So 2 times 2 is 4 minus 12. 4 minus 12 is -8. And so that's my answer for y, and there's my final answer, 2 comma -8. And you do need to write your answers as ordered pairs. So you're going to go ahead and do page 4. Just page 4. You're going to do page 4 and then submit it to me on Schoology and check your answers. All the answers are on Schoology, so I want you to check your answers before you submit it. Okay?